What's up, dudes? Max here, and today on the Microsoft livestream we got a small update of what's going to be taking place with Killer Instinct Story Mode. Now here's going to be a brief breakdown of what's going to be taking place in Story Mode, although they could not show much of it, mostly because the medium difficulty of the new arcade mode is rather challenging. It's also an arcade mode and technically not story mode, and it actually is going to function very similar to previous Killer Instincts. You might remember from previous KI2, when you go through the story mode itself and you get to the end, you get varying endings depending if you ultra some characters and things like that, and it appears the same thing is going to be happening with the new Killer Instinct as well. They showed off Fulgore, who was the most requested character to actually play through story mode, and Campbell went through and tried to do his best, but got to the final, I think it was the character before the final one, which ended up being Fulgore, and he actually didn't make it because the AI in this game, and I've actually spoken to the guy who makes the AI, it's programmed and called Kyle, because that's the dude that made it, and it's actually an adaptive and responsive type of fighting game AI. Specifically, there's a big reason for this. You know things like counter breakers? You actually have to input the counter breaker command before. There's no way that a computer can react to the fact that you press combo breaker and then do counter breaker after. It doesn't work that way. But what the computer actually does, and this is the most simplistic example of this entire thing, is that it looks at the patterns and the things that you are combo breaking and will actually put out counter breakers against the things you are combo breaking, adapting to how you play and making the challenge all the more greater. And this is exactly what was happening to the dudes in the Microsoft livestream, and they actually couldn't get past Orchid in the allotted 30-minute time frame. We didn't see much about story mode in this thing, but we did learn, like I was saying, that it's going to be like KI2. There's going to be multiple endings. Even if there was going to be spoilers on this stream, it would have only had been one of Fulgore's endings of many, and they were also saying that depending on how many things you do within the story mode, that there's actually a special something, like another special something that happens at the end of arcade mode that you get for, we don't know exactly yet. They also did not give us the conditions of how you need to fulfill all three different endings, so I'm sure we'll figure that out when the game comes out. But what I like is that they're most likely going to have three different endings, and one of them is going to be chronological, like actual canon to the story, while the other ones are kind of going to be goofy fun, similar to how Killer Instinct 2's endings actually were back in the day. Now, when we get through this stuff, what they did show at the beginning is actually this little cinematic thing. So it is confirmed that there is actually cinematics. We got to see something very brief for Fulgore, and we got to see more Fulgore gameplay in the process. But the stream wasn't a total blowout because we did also get other information regarding what's going on. Confirmed that lobbies will indeed have spectating. I was already assuming that this was going to be the case, but they did indeed confirm that that is going to be taking place. They also said that Shadow Tiger's Lair, which was that stage that we saw that was locked out last week, is going to be in next week's update, and that's also confirmed as well. But they did say that Season 2, and they were leading on to a bit about what Season 2 is going to entail, has a really nasty quote-unquote boss, and he's also a playable character. So whether or not Idol or Gargos might be one of those for Season 2, who knows? I'd like to see a different take on either one, albeit Ken Lobb, the designer and one of the guys that made the original Killer Instinct, was saying that he hates Idol. He dislikes him as a final boss. He considers him very cheesy, so I highly doubt Idol has any consideration. It's probably going to be something completely new, completely related to what's going on with the characters in the cinematic bits we're going to see at the end of this arcade mode, and most likely is going to be also included in the playable cast, as they were saying. They did also confirm that Season 2's release date is going to be happening a little bit later, most likely during E3, and that Season 2 is going to have a much more robust and bigger overhaul to quote-unquote story mode or arcade mode, expected to be bigger and better is what they were saying, as well as some unique dialogue elements. We saw a bit of this in the Street Fighter series from Capcom, where characters actually talk to each other mid-fight if it's a very important or pivotal match between one character's story and another character's story, like Akuma fighting, Ryu fighting Sagat, or Ryu fighting Akuma and things like that. It was kind of cool, and I thought that was a nice touch, and it looks like they want to do something similar where you have character introductions that are unique between certain characters, like Orchid's introduction is different against Fulgore, and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. That adds a lot of personality. That was an element to Capcom vs. SNK 2 that I was a huge fan of, as well as Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, how characters did different things if you faced off against certain other characters. So it looks like there's a lot more coming for Season 2, that they actually want to make the game much more robust and actually have the bigger set package that Killer Instinct could possibly be. And honestly, if they're able to deliver on all this stuff with the new developer being Iron Galaxy, then Killer Instinct is going to be a much more robust type of game, other than this usual downloadable, DLC type of game that's available digitally only. I think past this point, once Season 2 is actually out, we might get something like a physical release, especially if Season 2 is successful. We might even see a physical release for something down the line like Season 3. But by that point coming along, we'll have all the characters. We'll pretty much have mostly characters from Killer Instinct 2, the characters we were wanting from Killer Instinct 1, I'd imagine, in Season 2, and then they're pretty much going to have free reign. They're going to do whatever the heck they want with characters, and the nice thing about Killer Instinct character designs and how they fight, it's pretty much wide out in the open. You know, you have magic, you have crazy science, you have futuristic stuff, you have modern age stuff, you have regular martial arts, crazy magical martial arts, and stuff like that. Killer Instinct's bar of entry for how characters need to act and how they're designed is kind of crazy high, so you can do almost anything with them, which is kind of exciting because I would like to see what Iron Galaxy could pull out of the basket, making crazy new characters in Killer Instinct. Either way, let me know what you guys think about the story mode breakdown so far of what Killer Instinct has to offer story-wise. I'm going to be available on Twitter if you want to ask me any questions regarding what's going on. I'll do my best to hit you guys up, and the link for that is in the description below. Thanks very much for watching, guys. My name is Maximilian, and we're T-minus 6 days to the hypest frickin' robot release, and I'll be back with a full story mode playthrough for multiple characters as well as a week of full gore. Take care, folks, and I'll see you next time.
Wow! That's...
Oh, come on! Oh, no! Oh, that was so close.
You wanna jump in?